it was at that moment that my homeboy got shot, my homeboy got thrown in prison, and then my girlfriend found out how I made money, and she broke up with me. So I ended up going to church camp, and the first night there, I wasn't even saved, and I had a vision of Jesus, like walking through the room. I just see his feet. When everybody was able to get up, the dude immediately was like, who wants to accept Jesus? I was like, bruh, if that's who was just walking in this room, I'm in.
A lot of men know how to build, produce, support, and just keep moving. But underneath all the movement is a deeper question. What are you leaning on when the applause die out, when the work slows down, or life starts exposing your heart? Today's guest is Manwell Reyes. A lot of people know him from music like Group One Crew and from years of creative work in public life. But what we really want to get into today is the man underneath all of that output. So let's get into it today.
Yeah, because I had a podcast for a while before I had a kid. And after I finished music, it was tough trying to figure out, like, there was a stint when I was doing music, I was more like, my relationship with God was very performative. Mm-hmm. It wasn't performative from my heart's sake. It was literally performative because I get on stage and I sing and I,
say all the right words.
Everything is through that lens. Now my heart and everything was legitimately real about it. But when I say performative, it's like, it's very difficult to believe that God is with you in what you're doing if you don't sell enough records. Or if you don't get on a tour. Because how do you really then justify God is with you when you're like, I can't even get work, you know? So that's what I mean by performative, which I hated it. Now, luckily we had a good career, but after that, I was like, man, now how do I tell people about God? Like I do it in my personal life. That's easy. Yeah. But again, you always have this feeling like once you come from that kind of background, you have this feeling of like, what can I do for him? What can I do for him? Yeah. Like, is being enough? And after I finished the podcast was great because I was like, oh, yay, now I get to talk about Jesus again. And then that went 4 or 5 years, and then now it's just me being a dad. And I'm like, yeah, what do I get to do for Jesus now? You know, I'm not really doing anything but being a dad. And I always ask him, like, God, hopefully I'm not trying to sideline myself. I just really don't want to go do something that isn't going to bring, like, fruit. I'd rather be with my wife and my daughter, but I do miss, in the purest sense, doing stuff for them. You know what I'm saying?
I think the doing there's satisfaction in it, you know? It feels like, okay, I must be obeying, I must be loving him because I'm doing. I know that's something we talk a lot about. A ton. Rolled right in.
No, I like this. No, I like this.
No, it hit me while you were praying.
I was like, I don't want you to repeat all that. That wouldn't be real. I'm just going to go with it.
It's just one of those things where it's like, I think for me, the biggest benefit was just the reaction, the response, like what I got to do for people. Like my favorite part about performing was in between the songs I would preach, you know? And I always had like a good word from God, and I just love being able to communicate whatever revelatory thing that God's showing me to someone else and hopefully help them. Like that was my thing. Still is my thing. I just do it more on a personal level, like with my friends. But I always wonder, I'm like, I wonder if there's going to be something in the future where, I don't know. I get to help people, you know, in a certain way.
Well, we should probably say this so it's just known. But Manny's one of my best friends in the whole world, somebody I look up to a lot. Our kids, our family, our wives are family. And I got to play drums for Group One Crew as well for his band at the kind of the back end of the Group One Crew journey. And it's true, like every night on stage, what was super dope, and I'd played with probably, 10 or 15 different artists in my time in the music industry. But it was cool to watch how every night he had a new, fresh thing for that audience. Because, you play with a lot of artists, and it's like, this is the moment they cry. This is the moment they tell the joke. Oh, man. This is the moment. It's kind of it's a bit of a shtick. And some of that is just like you're working on a time clock. And you've got to like keep the set moving, and you don't want to go over, and you don't want to piss off the stage people. And there's layers to that. But I always appreciated his authenticity of like being in the moment and feeling the crowd and feel even the resistance in the room or the stadium or whatever we were playing in. He would feel that and encounter people where they were. And it's a hard thing to do when you're managing time.
I understood because my two counterparts, they would always kind of like, for the most part, say the same thing. And at first I used to think it was a bad thing because I'm like, where's fresh revelation? But then I also at the same time, I also acknowledge that some people are not, like, being on that mic and speaking what's in their heart is scary.
Yeah.
So having something ready to say is not really that, you know, they don't want new revelation, but it's more so like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm on a stage and
Which
I have
is
to
fair.
share something. And so I had to at some point acknowledge that too. It's like, all right, some people just need a structure. I'm always the kind of dude that I'm like, just throw me anywhere at
you can
any
just
time.
roll with it.
And I will be able to say, and if I don't know what y'all are talking about, I'll just be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I won't say
Honest.
anything. Yeah.
Humble.
But yeah, it was good times.
So, okay, so we kind of jumped right in, and I want, for the guys who are listening who maybe know your name, maybe they don't know your name, can you just kind of give us who is Manny, and what are the things that you would say have kind of shaped your life, your music, your faith, all of that stuff?
Well, born and raised in Germany, military kid, kind of traveled all over the world, lived all over the world, settled down in Kansas for a little bit, Texas. Pops retired in Orlando. I had a brief hoodlum stint where I was just a little gangster for a good chunk of change.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Where I was just robbing people and carrying guns, just being like that guy.
Yeah.
Got saved senior year of high school. Went to Bible college. After Bible college, was a balloon animal man for like 2.5 years. Got out of debt, made a bunch of money, and then got signed. The second I got out of debt, got signed to Warner and toured with Group One. I started this group called Group One Crew out of Orlando. There was like 13 of us at the beginning, and then it filtered down to 3, and did that for like 14 years, 15 years. After that, took a year hiatus, which ironically was like so dope because I took the year off, and I remember going to my wife thinking, hey babe, if you want me to get a real job, like I'll go get a real job. Like I don't want to, you to think I'm being lazy. And she was like, no, you're a musician. That's what you're going to do. I just need you to heal this year. I was like, great, I'll just heal. Cause the group kind of broke up a little bit. And so I did. And I was just, I just spent the year praying, working on music, flew out to Nashville, did some songs with some friends. And then I think we had 3 songs, half of a music video, and like 2 pictures on Instagram. And we get signed by Capitol Records out of LA, me and my boy. And it was the deal I've always wanted. It was like $1 million advance, ton of money, ton of everything, got to own my own stuff. And I got all that from just resting and praying and healing.
Wow.
So it was very wild that happened without even us really trying.
Yeah.
And then I did that for 2.5 years, stopped. And now I do TV and film, music for TV and film, which is amazing because I get all the benefits of writing cool music, but I don't have to like go out there and sell myself as an artist.
Where did the music part come from for you? Was that like from a kid you were just musical, or did you like go, hey,
I was a
think
dancer
I'll do
first.
music? Oh, really?
Yeah, I used to break dance. So I was just always into it. Into
Rhythm
music.
and everything's just there.
My first record was Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton and this group called Cameo. I don't know if you remember Cameo?
Cameo.
This was back in Germany. It was very eclectic. To this day, I'm still
That's
eclectic.
so funny.
So it was just, I don't know, music always did something to me. I used to fall asleep with music playing, and I would imagine myself on a stage singing, but it was whoever was on the CD coming through, that was their voice, but I was singing it. And that's how I don't know, knew that music was somehow going to be a part of my life. It's weird. Awesome. Nobody in my family's musical. Nobody knows anything about music.
Yeah.
So it just came out of nowhere.
That's funny. I love how God just gives that gift sometimes. Like, usually people are like, oh, I had a musical family or whatever. Sometimes it's just like, drop it on you, boom.
It's weird. And it happens so, like, effortlessly. Like, yeah, I don't know. All my advances have happened effortlessly. Like, they were rarely byproducts of me being a genius. It's just very much like, yeah, I think I could do this,
Right.
Like, I put out probably like 100 songs before getting signed. And my only fleece for God was, hey, man, just let me make enough money that I can put out the next CD. And after like number 8, I was like, all right, God, how many of these am I going to be able to do?
Yeah.
Because it took me from beginning music 12 years to get signed. So it's 12 years of putting out
That's some effort.
music, teaching myself, because we didn't have the internet like these people have.
Right.
I was on dial-up. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of it, we just got MySpace. So it was like, it was really tough. I'm literally selling music out of my backpack.
That's crazy.
But it worked. I don't even know how. It just worked.
Hey, you guys might have noticed the hats we've been wearing in some of the episodes here. These are from our friends over at Tennessee Hats. Everywhere we go, people are stopping us, asking us about these hats. And we were like, hey, we would love to be able to talk about them on the show and even make them available for you guys. So if you would like to grab one of these hats, you can go to the link in the show notes and get yours today.
I was telling Stu today, and this speaks to what you're talking about right now, but I was telling him today, I was like, Manny, I sent him a voice thing, and I said, Manny's one of the most optimistic people I've ever known, like consistently optimistic. But I remember a time when you talked about the group, you know, coming to a head and Group 1 crew fading out, and which was really a dream come true, and you're living in a dream. And I remember being in the basement of a guy's house we were staying in. And I remember one of the greatest lessons you've ever taught me, and I was just thinking about this today, and I wanted to share it on here, but was how to cry, because you're like literally the most optimistic dude I know. Always can like see even like evil as like, man, but I see God in that, and I see God moving in that, and it's always challenged me because I can, you know me, like I can live in the sad and stay in the sad and camp out in the sad and you rent in the sad and lease there forever. Yeah. And I remember you going through a season of just heartache and hurt. And there was a day in that basement where you cried, and it wasn't a cry of like, I did something wrong. It wasn't a cry. It was a cry of like, I'm genuinely hurt. My heart hurts. And I think about that a lot. Even as a father, I think about like, how many times do my kids see me cry over meaningful things? Like, how many times am I willing to expose my heart like that? And so I think there's just so many lessons from your life that I've gotten to see up close, and how you'd never harbored bitterness. You know, you always are quick to make amends. You're always quick to say, I'm sorry. Where does that come from in your life? And I kind of selfishly get to ask you on here, but we don't want to talk about that a lot. So it's kind of cool that I get to ask on here.
I don't think she will ever see this, but shout out to Marissa, my ex-girlfriend in college. Marissa was like the fly chick in college. She is this Canadian chick, super effortless, can sing. She's married now with kids and whatever, so I highly doubt she'll ever watch it. Yeah. But shout out to her, because she handed me my first heartbreak, right? Like legitimate heartbreak. Before, I didn't know what I was doing. And I usually ended things on my terms, right? I was one of those people that typically always got what he wanted. When I tried out for teams, I made it. I didn't make it to be a bench. I was always a starter. I always, whatever I did, I succeeded at, right? So, which is not a braggadocious thing. I wouldn't even say it's a good thing, because I didn't meet disappointment until I was a 22-year-old college guy.
Wow.
Where, mind you, I'm fresh off of a breakup. And I'm like, Lord, it's just me and you. We all do that. Every Christian does. Every believer. It's like, I just want to be with Jesus. It's just me and you.
For 2 days.
The girls are, I'm dating Jesus. And the dudes are just like, forget it. We're just me and Jesus. So I was in that moment, and I meet this girl, and she's so beautiful, so cool, so whatever. And she keeps like talking to me, chatting it up, like not pursuing me, but like making it known, yo, what's up? And I was like, no. I'm in my Jesus phase, right? It's just me and Jesus. And I remember I like kind of like had her at bay for like a week. And then eventually I remember praying in my living room, and I was like, Lord, like, do I just let her in? Like, should I just give her a shot? Because I think she's super cool. And I swear I felt him say, yeah, bro, you're good. So I let her in. And 2 days later, she's out. Out of nowhere. We dated for 2 weeks, bruh. And when I tell you what followed was 6 months of agony, and I wondered why it was like that, because it was like, this was the first time I didn't get what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so I reverted back to 8-year-old Manny, who those are the things we should have learned at 8, 9, 10. You don't get what you want, but at 8, 9, and 10, I was still getting what I want. Yeah. All the way through high school, I was just winning. I didn't have like bad childhoods or like I don't have no stories of like nobody liked me. I was like, no, I was always the prom king, the
They loved
homecoming
me.
king. They loved. High school was cool. High school was cool for you, yeah, bruh. Like I was
fun.
it. And so I reverted back to that kid. And when I tell you it was embarrassing, man, like I would be typing papers and mid-paper I would just fall over onto the floor in a fetal position, just bawling. I remember she complimented my little side chop, sideburns, and bro, and my earrings. I had these square earrings. She complimented me. Bro, I wouldn't cut those sideburns and I wouldn't stop wearing those earrings because in my little immature mind, I thought she's gonna see the sideburn, she's gonna see the earring and come back to me. That's how I was thinking like a child. Like it was literally a child way of thinking.
Wow.
And I remember all my boys were like, I told you she was gonna do this. That's the type of girl she is, blah, 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 blah. She's a B, she's a this. And they were just like, you know, really ragging on her. And I remember seeing this vision from God when I was in the quad of my college. And it was two very distinct roads. One was so beautiful, dang near I say paved with gold. Birds chirping, just like that's a road I want to go down. But the name of that road was bitterness and hatred. And all my friends were on that road. Oh. Then there was this narrow, dark road filled with thorns, and it looked scary as hell. And the name on that road was forgiveness. And nobody was there.
Wow.
And I don't even know how to explain it. It was like a very real vision. And God gave me the option, which road do you want to go down?
Wow.
You know the right one. One's way easier. And I was just like, I'm going to do the forgiveness one because I'm just that guy. I from A to B, I always want to take a straight line. I don't need a zigzag. So I was like, give me the forgiveness road. All my friends called me stupid. Everybody thought I was dumb. And I promised never to say a single negative thing about her. Never. I would just pray for her. I would just love on her from afar. And I would take everything that I knew about her, her experiences, the things that went wrong with her. And I would give her grace for those things. And I was like, Lord, one day she's going to come to me and she's going to say sorry. And I'm going to be able to look her in the face and say, don't even sweat it. Like I forgave you the second it happened. And sure enough, a year goes by, she sees me. I see her walking out of her dorm, and I was just like trying to ignore her because I was like, I don't want to have this conversation. And she like kind of catches up to me, and she's just like, I just want to say I'm sorry. Like I was going through a lot. I shouldn't have done that to you. Like it was not cool. And I was able to look her in her face and be like, don't even sweat it, girl. Like I literally forgave you once it happened. And I've been praying for you since, and not a single negative word has come out of my mouth about you. Wow. And I was able to tell her, and she could see the conviction in my face because I was telling 100% truth. And so since then, I had the benefit of experiencing what it was like to lead with forgiveness and grace as opposed to anything else. It just paid better.
Wow.
And there have been multiple times where things have happened where God has tested me on that forgiveness.
That's so powerful, man. There's this book I've been reading. I've read it before, but I just recently went through. Yeah, it's called the Bible. It actually is about the Bible.
I had to. Sorry.
It's called A Tale of Three Kings.
Yep. Oh,
and it uses the stories of King Saul, King David, and then Absalom, David's son. And this one part I have been ruminating. I don't know if that's the right word, but just meditating on for the better part of a week. And it's this point where in the story, it's kind of a narrative. It sounds like you've read it. And there's this guy and they're talking about David and they're talking about Saul. And he's saying what David realized was that God uses the outer Sauls to confront the inner Sauls of our heart. So like, and his point was if you don't confront it, you become an outer Saul. Like the same thing you're saying, you go down that road of bitterness, of hate, of unforgiveness. And all you become is that person who's picking up spears and throwing them at people and blaming everybody else. And so to choose to be that person who goes, yeah, that hurt. Yeah, I didn't like it, but I'm going to choose to trust God. I'm going to choose to like not react in kind to that person and treat them how everyone else would say, yeah, just pick up the spear, just throw it back at them, give them what they deserve. And so your story is like confirmation. I feel like that's the theme the Lord's working in me right now is just going,
well, here's the reality of it here's the reality of it. The reason I was able to do it, it's way less spiritual and way more honest. Because I was always able to admit like who I was.
Yeah.
I feel like as people, we tend to make ourselves the hero of our own journey.
Yeah.
Yep.
No matter what
Absolutely.
happens. We never see our own faults. We never see the things we do bad.
Never the
and I was just never that person. I was like, yeah, I do a lot of dumb stuff. I've hurt people. I'm probably gonna hurt people. I find it, whenever I find somebody that's morally outraged or self-righteous, I'm always like, you stink. Like you feel the way you feel towards people, and you can have such a strong moral stance because you think morally you're higher than someone else. So you can stand there just like so adamant about it, unknowingly that when life can put you in a position where you're like 2 decisions away from throwing your entire life away.
Yep.
And so I was always aware of that. So I can't look at someone that hurts me and think, oh, they're just a bad person. I think about it, well, if I was in their shoes, what kind of bad decisions would I be making? Like if I had the stress of what, and granted, it was their decisions that brought them to where they're at, but it doesn't matter. We can all make dumb decisions.
Yeah.
Right? I remember T.D. Jakes doing a sermon and it never left me. He said, I am one bad decision away from cheating on my wife. I am one bad decision away from losing this church. Just one, not 3, not 4, 1. And when he said that, I was like, that is a sober-minded person. I'm one bad decision away from ruining my entire life. So if that's a reality in my life, then I feel that what I should be doing is depositing way more grace and understanding into this world, into people, than judgment and some kind of self-righteous attitude.
Yeah.
Because I will need it at some point. I'm going to need God to like, in the kindest way, spank me when nobody's looking. Not spank me when the world is looking. And so I've just always had that very, very sober mentality of like, all right, God, I do dumb things and people are going to do dumb things to me. I can't hold it against them because I really don't want you holding mine against me. And that's been the best thread of my life. Like, and I've had horrible things. I've had people try to end my career. I've had people that I've lent $50,000 to. And they try to make it out to be that I'm a money grubbing geezer because I expected them to pay me back and they couldn't. So in their mind, the only way to feel good about not paying me back was to make me a villain, that I just care about money. I don't care about them. As opposed to, I never plan to pay you back, Manny. But the only way I can feel good about it is by making you evil and me the victim in my story. Because how do you, in the same breath, thank you for lending me $50,000 and all you care about is money? That doesn't go. That doesn't go the same place. But then my response to that is I can either be pissed at them or I can say, man, Jesus, thank you for putting me in a place where I can not need $50,000. And that money is going to go straight through a black hole for them and they still are going to need more. But I'm on to bigger and better things, and that 50 it wasn't even a speed bump in my life. So that's the only way that I look at situations like that, and I just kind of turn them into like, well, thank you, Jesus. Thank you for allowing me to lose that money and not be affected in my life. The only anger I would have would be that I wish I would have gave it to somebody that it could have changed their life, like for real. That's my only anger. I wish I would have gave it to somebody else. Not that I wish I had it back. You know?
We were chatting before the show. I know you've done a lot of things. Like you've got music, you are into certain things. We were talking about cars and just things. So in that, like kind of everything that you've done and you do, there's sort of a theme I see of like building, of stewarding, of using your resources like you're talking about with like an artist approach to all of it. That's something that's like creative, but it can like also at times like our creativity can almost be a danger, I think, at times. So when did you start realizing like kind of discipline, excellence, all of that output can still, it could still hide things? Like, I don't know if I'm making sense here, but we can do stuff at a level where excellence is important, but then we can also do it to like run from self-confrontation, I guess. Man, it's interesting because
I've been this way for so long. It's hard to remember a day where I wasn't brutally honest with myself. I don't know if I feel like that's like another God gift, because I don't think like I just magically, I can take credit for being like self-aware. I don't think it's that. It probably came from a real place of like needing God to like forgive me because of how bad I thought I was, right? I was very aware of these things. And I knew that consistency of discipline was the only like saving grace for me at least. And I have this adamant thing that I do where if I do anything, and this was even with Christianity. I remember when I first got saved, I was like, God, if I'm gonna be a Christian, I'm gonna be the best Christian ever. And so I went hard, like hard in the paint. Everything I do, I just feel obligated to like be great at it. And the only way to be great is to like work at it, work at your craft, like be consistent with everything. And I don't think like I've achieved anything, monumentous, but for the boy that I thought I was going to become, for the kid back in Germany or in Kansas that thought his life was going to be this level and then where I'm at, it's like I tell Ange, like my wife, and I tell God every day, like, it's like, if I died today, I would not enter heaven or be in front of Jesus and be sad. I would literally, the first thing come out of my mouth is, wow, bro. I can't believe you let me do the things that I got to do. Like my life far outpaced the expectations of what I thought it was going to be. And every day from here on out is just the cherry on top. Now, the best part about my life is my daughter. So I would love to not die and see her all the way through. But I think, I think that's just always been a thing in me, man, where that's a through line in everything I do, from the real estate to the music, to the cars, everything, clothes. I sell and buy everything, like everything. There's not a single thing that I do that I'm not trying to take advantage and put my life or my family in a better position. It's weird.
Yeah.
The amount of studying I've done on taxes and life insurance, like just insurance period. It's so boring, but I go hard in all these things because I just feel like, because I'm the head of the household, like I see that as more so like I need to be responsible for knowledge. Because my wife crushes. She does so well and she's amazing and I think she's blessed by God. But there's like this whole side of life that she doesn't engage in and that I feel obligated to, that I need to know a lot about a lot so that I can not only teach my wife, but teach my daughter.
I love that.
This is how you're going to navigate life. Like I have zero fear of my daughter winning in life because I know exactly what to teach her.
Heck yeah.
I don't care about school. I don't care about anything. Like, I'm going to tell her, if you want to go to school, and let's just play a game about it. Like, it's you against every other student. Let's just win.
I love it.
And, I don't care about anything else. Let's just be great at it. And even if you're like a B student, it's okay. None of this stuff matters. None of this will matter. I'll teach you the 4 things that will matter in life that will make you successful. All this is just, for lack of a better word, it's going to be a joke. Now, unless you want to become a dentist or a doctor,
brain surgeon,
then at some point this does become serious.
Yeah.
But that's like way down the road. But
I think one of the things when I think about your life and getting to see it for a lot of years now, I think we met when I was in high school, and you played a show in the early days of Group 1 Crew, and I was like like the interns serving you in the green room. Like, do you need anything, massa? I think back to like all the years of knowing you. There's little highlight moments that you probably don't even know that I remember, but there's things like you've talked about, like getting a rental car and like taking it through the car wash. And I was always like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And then he'll break it down for you, be like, well, if I can't steward the rental car like it's mine, why would I ever ask God for my own vehicle? You know what I mean? Those little mentalities of like, if he buys a piece of clothing, the way he takes care of it, when he could probably buy the freaking clothing store, he's taking care of that thing. Like it matters, and he's stewarding. So like, I think about that, but But I also think about the way that that's translated now into married life, and watching you care for your wife and your daughter with that same high level of, like getting your wife's outfits together for her things, and making sure your daughter has her needs met before she's even thinking about legacy and the stuff in the future that no one else is thinking about. But one of the things that I think as men, like this podcast is always trying to, for all of us, push us to being better men and being better husbands. There's the golden Manny that I would love to lean into in this part is how you serve, especially your wife. And as much as you want to share about your wife, her career, her life, but how you guys met, how you guys collided, and how you show up for her to like just serve her and be creative alongside of her and to let her be her is a pretty cool thing. I think a lot of men, including myself, and I don't know about Stewart, he's kind of perfect, but we can learn a lot from.
Yeah. It's wild because I've done a lot of cool stuff, and I know as men, like we're always like, not only the world, but like everything about us is like the provider, and it's like, it's what society tells us. And I've always, been that, and then I meet this little Mexican girl who, without trying, is just so successful. And in a field that she didn't even want to do. Like God's hand is so on her life that this is her side hustle.
Wow.
That she has parlayed into this insane career where no matter, I'm busting my butt and I'm having great years, right? But cannot catch up to my wife. Like she's just gone on how successful she is. Mind you, we have an internal joke about it. She's always like, man, babe, you work so much harder than I do, but I just do better. And I laugh because I know she means it. And we just laugh at it. Yeah. Because she knows, she sees me work and she's just like, yeah, I don't know why I can do better when you work so much harder than I do and know so much more things. I know so much more. Yeah, she won't ever say that I don't, which is humbling.
Yeah.
Right? At first I used to be like inadvertently competing. But mainly because I wanted to make sure that she didn't think I was lazy. And then also, I don't know how long she wants to keep doing this. So I got to make sure that I got my game up so that I can carry it when she's done doing it.
Real quick, too, for everyone watching, if they don't know, who's your wife? What does she do?
Oh, her name is Anjelah Johnson. So she's a comedian.
Okay.
And an actress, too. But comedy is what's really taken off for her. But she wanted to be an actress. She did not want to be a comedian. The comedian was just completely and utterly by accident. Videos that went viral that she didn't even record, she didn't even upload. Complete crazy life, but that she kept going for 17 years. So it's not that she didn't work hard. Yeah, it's just even she'll say it herself. If she had to be a comedian like real comedians had to start off, she would have never did it. She wouldn't have did a grind for 15 years. She started at the top. Yeah, literally. Yeah. Was one of the first videos to ever go viral on YouTube and had agents, manager, networks, everything. Landed Mad TV. Just all these things just happened without her like really trying.
That's crazy.
But she kept it going. She had to learn to be a comedian, right? So I watch her life and the way God has used it to teach me so many things. One being, okay, man, maybe in this marriage, you're not going to be the guy that makes all the cash. You'll make cash. I've had years where I'm like, whoa, I'll do multiple six figures. Like I'm like thinking anyone else would be like, yeah, I'm crushing it. But it's like a drop in the bucket for her. And I'm like, man, so maybe this is not my role in this. Yeah. Because I know that the amount of sacrifice it's going to take for me to get to where she's at by starting a business or by doing whatever. Not only is it going to take an insane amount of focus, but it's going to take an insane amount of time. And one thing that we learned in the beginning of our marriage when I was touring and she was touring, we were just ships in the night, man. It was like take a month off after tour, and that's when we would hang out, and then both back to tour, both going. So where we were at in marriage, it was like once I got out of my Warner deal and I had that year off, all I did was just spend time with her. And in that time, we just kind of like felt, this is way better than me traveling or me being away from her. So our whole mentality changed. Now it was just like, well, what can I do to continue to support you? Because prime example, 15 years of me doing, the Warner thing, and I'm trying to get a mainstream deal and I can't get it. I write a comedy gangster rap record for her in 1 week. 1 week as a joke. And I get her signed to Warner.
Her character.
Her character.
A character,
as
yeah.
a joke.
Which
But just
was
using all
crazy.
my connections,
Yep.
all my talent, everything that I've used the past 15 years that I couldn't do, trying hard, doing 200 dates a year, and I couldn't do it. Hundreds of thousands of records sold. Couldn't do it. A week, a joke, get her signed. Then I take my band,
Yep.
my choreographers, my setup, my bus, my backdrop, my production, my sound man, my everything. And those are my words.
Yep.
We hit a tour, sell it out. All over the country, 2 straight months of sellout, and then make more in that tour than I did my whole career in Group 1.
So amazing.
So I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? Like, this is like, why is it so much easier? And it's just like, God just kind of hit me. Hey, bro, I think you should be responsible for the background of this person's life.
Yeah.
Like, you should be that thing that nobody knows is doing it, but you're just like holding up this world
Yeah.
It's really
that
cool.
she exists in. So that's when I just stopped like trying to compete with her, and I just started like being like a supplementation. Now, obviously that's a lot of dying to like self and pride, because as the guy, you want to be like, I want to be the guy. But at some point it's like, you got to know where God's hand is at and know like your role in that. So when I started playing the support character, now I'm implementing all my ideas. Like, I've been telling my wife for 8 years now, we need to produce our own specials. Specials don't cost $500,000. They don't. I went to school for this. I've shot movies. I shoot all my own music videos. I know how to do what this is.
Yeah.
And this is not a $500,000 production. Somebody's getting paid. You can buy the whole gear 3 times over and not spend $500,000.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we should be shooting our own. Nobody listens to me. Even her old manager used to try to sun me. Manny, I've been doing this for 30 years.
Listen, son.
This is how it's done.
Yeah.
All right, Trick. Like, whatever. Fast forward 2 years later. You know what I think we should do, Anjelah? I think we should shoot our own special.
Wow, it's revolutionary.
And I remember looking at Ange, and I'm like, I've been saying this for 6 years. This is what we should do. And finally, everybody listens to me. Then we shoot our own special. We shoot it here in Nashville. Make our money back in the first year, and now we're just making money. Way more than if we would have sold it to Netflix or sold it to Amazon or sold it to anyone. So now it's another case in point where it's like, oh, I do know what to do. I have the ability to generate wealth. For whatever reason, I do not know. But the avenue that God is doing that in my life is through my wife. Which again, just takes it just keeps me humble.
Yeah.
Because she'll ask me about stuff that she don't know about, and I'll just laugh. I'm like, I know so much more than you. And yet, all you do is win.
Blessings.
And so all that does is let me know, hey, man, you should probably keep your mouth shut more than you should open it. Like, if they ask your advice, cool. But there's some little special magic sauce on this girl. There's some little anointing that as much as she doesn't know, he's blessing her. So don't come in with your knowing, with your knowledge, and mess it up. Just stay in the back, speak when somebody asks you to, throw out your little knowledge of ideas, and the rest of the time, man, just be there as a support. So I do all the cleaning, I take care of the cars, I take care of all the finances, I take care of all the investing, I take care of everything. Shopping for her, style her. Whenever we go on tour, I style all the outfits, all of her specials I style.
Wow.
Co-produce the specials, make the music for the specials. I do everything that a background person would do. I do it all for her. And it's amazing. Like I've gone into this like really like supportive role that I almost don't miss the the foreground.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of hit on this earlier, but like a lot of men, they'll get threatened. They'll feel maybe get passive or something if their wife shines, if they're successful. So how do you feel like in all of that, like what is the influence of your faith played on you as watching your wife shine?
Well, I mean, we all get hung up on that whole head of the household crap, and everybody always relates that to money, just because we live in a capitalistic system. That there's societies and tribes and people groups where the men don't go out and do this; they stay, and the women go out and do all the what we consider manly things. So you have to acknowledge that a lot of it has to do with societal norms where we grow up, where we are at. Once you get over that. To me, what I understood that verse to be is like the head, meaning the person that can direct and guide. Like you're the one looking into the future, into the vision, as the head does, sees where you need to go, and then does everything he needs to do to make sure that the family gets to that place.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And so when I was able to humble myself and just accept my place in this current structure of life that God has us in, then I took it upon myself to be responsible for all that, the vision, the understanding of like what I was talking about, taxes, insurance, all the most boring stuff that we don't, I don't know about y'all, but my parents didn't teach me.
No.
There's no financial wisdom. There's no financial literacy getting passed down
They
to
don't
me.
teach it in school.
No. So I had to learn it all myself. So that's literally what I've spent the last 5-6 years doing, is just becoming this wealth of knowledge. And our business managers, I'm literally on the phone with my business managers at least 2 hours a week, just throwing them my ideas. This is what I learned. I learned about this. This is what I learned about insurance. This is what I learned about investing. I'm thinking of doing this. Poke holes in my story. Like I have this idea. Poke holes in it. Let me know where I'm off. I want to do this. Where am I right? Where am I wrong? And I got a whole team of people over there, lawyers and accountants and money people that are like, this is what you don't know. This is where you're wrong. This is where you're right. I'm down for this. I'm not down with this. And so I'm just learning. And to where now I'm like, oh, I have this clear vision of where God wants to take us. And if we can stay consistent, if we can not make a dumb mistake, right? Which is acting out of character for us because we're not those people. But if we can just keep this pace, and if God continues to do what he does with those who come from poor, if you're listening and you grew up poor and you have a little bit of something, there's always that fear that the shoe's going to drop.
Yeah.
That we have to go back to poor at some point, that all of this goodness cannot just keep going. The shoe will drop eventually. We're halfway through our life right now. And I'm like, oh my God, Jesus, like the finish line is coming closer. And I feel like because we've trusted you, because we've like, my eyes are firmly set on you. I feel like if you continue to bless us, like we're going to be all right. And not only we will be all right, but our little girl, once I teach her what life is about, if she can steward, now you're talking just generational. Not only just wealth of material, but like knowledge. Knowledge to where the Reyes name will never be considered like it was before. The name won't even carry any kind of past. Wait, there will be this new thing.
Yeah.
That when you see
legacy.
Oh, you're a Reyes, or it's just going to be different. And Reyes means king, so it'll truly move into that royalty phase. That I'm super stoked my daughter being able to engage in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that's the most exciting thing I am, is giving her a head start. One that I did not have. I did not have a head start, but she will have this epic head start that, knock on wood and God's grace, that she's just going to multiply. And I'm so stoked for her.
Yeah.
I get geeked.
That's wild, man. When you look back and you think about, you touched on at one point, you were like, I was literally carrying guns, and I was like, life before meeting Jesus. Will you share a little bit for the guys listening? Like what was interesting to you about Jesus? Like in the middle, I just picture you like running and gunning literally and hanging with people. You probably some sketch people and
Sure.
lifestyle. I remember there was a story you told, you don't have to share the story if you don't want to, but the story you told about another dude who had some stuff happen to him. I think he ended up in jail, and like you were like, yo, what was like the sober, like spiritually speaking, what was the sobriety of like this, I want to follow this rabbi, this teacher from 2,000 years ago?
Well, it definitely wasn't spiritual. It was definitely physical. 'Cause
Yeah.
all my homies were getting shot and locked up. So as a practical, logical man,
Like that,
I am
that
next.
don't look good.
I'm
Yeah.
next.
Made sense.
There's just no way I'm not next.
Yeah.
I'm doing everything that they're doing right next to them.
Yep.
They're just getting caught.
Yep.
So it's only a matter of time before I either get shot or caught. Like, that was it. And so the self-preservationist in me is like, man, I may want to do something because I don't know if I'm built for that life. Like, I like to pretend I'm built for that life, and I've done stuff that I didn't think I would do. I think deep down, I always knew in my heart, I'm more of a like lover kind of guy. Like I love being gracious towards people. I'm a giver way more than I am like wanting to hate you. And so, plus I was playing in church. I was going to church with my boys to like look at girls. Like we would just go for girls. And so I was flirting around with it. And it was at that moment that my homeboy got shot. My homeboy got thrown in prison. And then my girlfriend found out how I made money. And she broke up with me. And so I was like, man, this was all like in the span of like 2 or 3 weeks. Like it was crazy. So it was like the writing was on the wall. And so because I've been playing with church, I was like, this seems like a much better alternative. I didn't really know what I was signing up for. I just knew it was better than what I saw all of my friends getting. And I ended up going to church camp, which I wouldn't go to church camp now.
Yeah.
But even then,
That's
it was
fair.
even worse. Like I would not go. I was like, this is lame. But somebody paid for me. Somebody paid $130. And to me, at that point in my life, nobody has given me anything.
Wow.
There's been no generosity towards me.
Wow.
And they paid $130 for me to go to this camp. I still to this day, I don't know who.
Yeah.
And because somebody paid for me to go, I was like, I gotta go. Because one thing I understood was money. I knew that it's not given freely. So I ended up going to church camp. And the first night there, I wasn't even saved. And I had a vision of Jesus, like walking through the crowd. I didn't see his face. I just saw his feet.
Wow.
And we were all face down, everybody. And I tell this story, and mind you, when it was happening, I didn't know what was happening because I still wasn't saved. But every single person, including the worship band, it wasn't like your typical church service where the Lord's moving, but all the band still has enough wherewithal to keep singing and playing the chords. No one was standing up. People in the lobby that were selling T-shirts with Jesus on them, no one was standing up. Everyone was prostrated face down. And I see the Lord walking through the room. I just see his feet. And all I kept saying with my mouth, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm dirty, I'm dirty. That's what I was repeating. These words never have come out of my mouth before. In my head, what the is this? I'm cussing up a storm. It was an outer body experience.
Yeah. No idea what's going on.
No idea what's going on, but I couldn't stop my mouth saying, I'm not worthy, I'm dirty, I'm dirty, I'm not worthy, I'm dirty, I'm dirty. And my brain is cussing. My mouth is just saying these same words over and over.
Wow.
And then when we got up, when everybody was able to get up, the dude immediately was like, who wants to accept Jesus? I was like, bruh, if that's who was just walking in this room, I'm in. I still don't know what I'm in for, but you can't fake this. Like, so I get saved. I get baptized in the Spirit. I don't know how many people are into tongues or whatever, but that doesn't matter. It was a Pentecostal church. And I started speaking in tongues. Like, it was weird. And I remember thinking, I don't even know if this is real. And I had to use the bathroom. So when I went to the bathroom and I started speaking in tongues in the bathroom just to test if this was like an only altar type of thing. Speaking in tongues in the bathroom. And I was just like, man, this is real. And like I am, I want to be the best at it. So I go home, I break up with my girlfriend, I stop robbing, I stop stealing, I tell all the homies, yo, I'm out. And that was my senior year of high school. And I went from being the coolest guy in school to like the leper. Nobody wanted to hang out.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. That year I was not homecoming king and I was not prom king.
Cost you
like
something.
for sure. It cost me everything. But I was just so like, I was so in the know. Like I was like, man, I did fully the right thing. and never looked back. It was crazy.
What's that quote? I don't know who said it. It doesn't matter. He is no fool who trades that which he can't keep to gain that which he can never lose. And like your story there is like, you're like, man, I'd do that 10 times over.
It just wasn't even.
Why would I keep this?
Yeah, it wasn't even a question for me, even though I did not know. And that whole high school year, that last year, I floated on popularity. Like I wasn't like in my word praying. It was just the most popular kid in school is now a Christian. So it was just like, yeah, guys, I'm a Christian. Listen to me because I'm popular.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything holding me down, which is why I kept going. I getting tossed back and forth. Like I didn't know what I was doing. And then I finally got in my word and praying, and then I went to Bible college, and it was just kind of like, it was the best, bro.
Yeah.
The best. Like
Good years.
I just remember those years fondly. Even though I've had my biggest heartbreaks and my biggest losses during that time, like I only remember it's just good. And I think that's like maybe Jesus gives me like these. You're right. I am endlessly optimistic because I tell people about my story, like my relationship with my father. Like I remember right when I got saved, it was so contentious. Like they hated that I was going to church. My dad drank a lot. My mom was just verbally abusive because she couldn't scream more than my dad or louder than my dad. So she would always feel like she needed to scream at us because she could scream louder than us. So this is this really toxic situation. And I remember the day that me and my dad got better was the day that he was drunk. He grabbed me by my throat, threw me across the room. And I got up and I knocked him out. And he tried to stand up again and I knocked him out again. And I was like, stand up again, bro. I'm going to knock you the out. This ends today. I'm no longer a little kid. What's up? Anytime you want to go, we can go. And he tried one other time after that to bow up. And I was like, let's go. It was no longer talking. I was ready to fight.
Dude.
That's just how I was my whole life. I mean, I got kicked out of 3 schools. I almost fought my principal if the deputy didn't tackle me. I was just ready to hurt anyone. But what happened, then me and my dad got so close. And when I realized my dad's a street guy, like he was on the street since he was 14.
Yeah.
He's a utter street kid. And so all that happened was I just earned my respect that day. Other people will listen to that and be like, bro, your dad choked you and threw you across the room and then you fought him? That sounds bad.
Yeah.
And I see it as like, what an awesome rite of passage. This is the equivalent of like him taking me hunting, but for two hood kids.
Who are not going in the woods.
We're not going in the woods, but
Unless we're
we'll
running.
fight each other. And I just earned his respect that day. And he respected me from then on out. And bro, when I say we stopped fighting, he stopped drinking, he started being okay with me going to church. He started saying stuff like, son, I don't believe, I may not believe in God, but I pray for you every day. Like just stuff out of nowhere. And I'm not like preaching at him.
Wow.
It just took a good fight.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
So I see my life and all the trauma and I only see good. I don't have family. I don't have like grandparents or whatever. I mean, I have them. I've just never met them. I have a sister and I have an uncle that I know. That's it. So there's no family life. There's a lot to be mad at in my life. Like if I was like a victim guy, there's a lot to point at and be like, oh, I wish I was this or I wish I was that. But I just can't see the bad. Cause it's just like, it was all good. Like, look where I'm at.
Yeah.
Drake has a line where he says that he talks about his father not being around. We call him Pastor Drake, me and my boy. I'm talking about Drake the rapper.
Yeah.
And he says a line where he says he's talking about his father who was never there for him, and he's talking to his mom. And he's like, Mom, look how we're living. Who are we not to forgive him? And that line ministered to me so much because he got it. He was like, without all this stuff, like we would not be here. I wouldn't go as hard as I did. Like I personally wouldn't have gone as hard as I did.
Yeah.
Because I knew there's nothing to fall back on. My parents ain't coming to save me. There's no inheritance. I have to figure life out. And if it wasn't for that, like, I wouldn't be who I am. So I just cannot see bad in my past. I'm just so grateful.
Yeah.
And now my parents live across the street from me, literally like right across the street from me. And I love them to death. And I've taken care of them for the last 20 years, you know?
Yeah. It's the biblical equivalent of Joseph being like, dudes, what you intended for evil, God intended for good.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't good, but it was used for good. God
And
is bigger
everybody
than-
has the ability to do this, right? It's just really hard not to be a victim.
Yeah. Get bitter, get victim mentality. Yeah.
Victim is so much better. It's like easier.
Yeah.
It's easier to blame people for like your shortcomings.
Yeah.
Everybody has an excuse for stuff.
Yeah.
I just never let myself do it because I saw it played out in so many people's lives and it just doesn't bring them anywhere. I get the privilege of living in Nashville and in LA. And I get to hear how people talk, right? And when I go back to LA, I'll have great conversations, you know, but I'll hear certain things, very certain talking points that come from a very victim, you know, mentality. I can't do that. I have this thing, me and my wife, is like utter accountability, utter like honesty. This is where I'm at. These are the dumb things I do.
Yeah.
And I just want to grow. I just want to be better. I just want to move forward. I am not a victim. I don't care how much you would like to convince me that because I'm brown or because I come from a worse situation that I should be mad
Yeah.
at the system or at white people.
Yeah.
You cannot convince me of that.
Yeah.
I have way too many nice old white ladies who have run their fingers through my hair without asking me, just complimenting me of how beautiful I am. And I'm just like, I like white people.
Yeah.
I feel safe around white people.
Yeah,
I live in a white neighborhood. And guess what? I love it when Carolyn brings me pumpkin bread. Focus on diversity of kindness, goodness.
Yeah.
The stuff that you should worry about, you know?
I love it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the spirit of optimism and honesty are like the two things I think you carry so strong. In a cool, fun way to end, we should just do this. Is what is your favorite lyric you've ever written? You've written a lot of records. You've sold hundreds of thousands of records all over the world. Ooh. Do you have a lyric you're like, I'm proud of that lyric? It stood the test of time.
Man, there's a lot of them that I when I catch myself listening, I'm like, dang, that's much better than I've ever gotten credit for.
See, that's what I'm saying. If there was one, you were like, this one.
Oh, man. Putting me on the spot. Man, this one I'm going to have to get back to you. Because there are some,
Phone it back in.
that I've said before that I thought are so dope.
I think some of the Panda stuff that you had released was super, super dope. There's some lines in there. There's some bars. My favorite from today is you're like, my wife started from the top, and I thought about you loving Drake, and I was like, yeah, she is not that started from the bottom girl, is she?
Yeah.
Started from the top, and I went up higher.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make for a great rap song.
No, but I got to be proud of her for it.
Heck yeah, dude.
Man, there's so many lyrics that I've said that I think are really good. I'm going to go home, I'm going to text you like 5 of them that I'm like, this is such a bar. But I can't remember any off the top of my head.
Maybe that's good. Maybe that means you have a blank canvas in there, and you're like, I'm gonna pin more.
It's weird because I haven't been into music lately. I don't write as much as I don't know.
Yeah, you told me that recently. There's this kind of meeting thing that I go to sometimes, and I sit in a room full of other men, and this guy, the first time I went, like rocked me, and this is kind of a fun place to close. We'll close down on this. He said, this first meeting, right? I have no idea what to expect. And I walk in and everybody closes their eyes. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. We playing Duck, Duck, Goose here. We're in a circle. And, he said, he pauses for a long time. I can like hear my heartbeat in the room. And he says, what if everything in your life right now is exactly how it's meant to be? And I remember sitting there going, nah, no way, bro. And he kind of just sat and he says it again. What if everything in your life is exactly how it's meant to be? And what came up in me, and that's where he led you to kind of like, what's coming up right now? What are you feeling? And that's what started the whole conversation. And I felt this sense of, I haven't stepped into the fullness of who I am. I haven't seen my full potential yet. And I think what has been so, in a good way, disorienting about following Jesus is that Jesus knows what is most true about who we are. Like, I can trick myself, my friends, I can even trick my friends to thinking I'm something. People that I think are cool, I can impress them. But Jesus knows what's most true about me. And if that's true, that he knows who I really am and what I'm capable of that maybe yet I haven't seen. It's like he lives outside of time. Mm-hmm. And there's something about the acceptance of a father giving us the ability to go, I don't need my ambition to reach its fullness in order for me to experience fullness. Mm. And I think this season of my life has been all about like, God, I don't think you put me here to maximize my potential. I think you put me here to experience you in everyday life, in everything I do, doing it with you. I think the whole meaning is to do it with God. And now we have kids. We all have kids. And I've learned that to be true. Like, do I want my kid to, reach his full potential and my daughter to reach her full potential? Yeah, like I'm sure, whatever that means. But ultimately, it's more than their potential. It's I want them to know what it's like to be with God and to be loved despite what they do. Even if that doing is super successful and makes you lots of money, you become super, influential. But like to be who you are, to be a LaTorre, to know you're fully loved. I can tell, I tell my wife this all the time, I can tell how much my son knows he's a LaTorre when he fails. Like I can see the bounce back now. Mm-hmm. And he's at that age, he's at 10. And now I can see how fast he bounces back. And bouncing back is belief that who I am is not determined by what I do. I think there's this interesting thing about following Jesus. I'll just say it again, that it's so freeing to know that we have a father who longs to move through our lives and do creative, cool things and build amazing things and companies and ideas and songs and whatever. But he's validating us before we ever do anything. Jesus got baptized into his identity before he proved his identity. It was just given to him. Mm-hmm. And I think what you're passing on to Rosie, to your daughter, is, you said that, is like the Reyes thing of the past will be gone. There's this new name, this new thing. And it's because you're choosing to show up. It's because you guys are choosing to be who you're made to be.
It's a new mentality. Me and Ange literally had this conversation yesterday because she was talking about, we kind of always have this conversation of how do we show Rosie who Jesus is?
Yeah.
Like, how do we show her
what does that
Christianity?
Look like? Yeah.
Because immediately once Anne said Christianity, she goes, but I don't want to like bring that, that Christianity and like,
yeah.
What she was saying was, I don't want to bring the legalism that I fell for into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, babe, I don't think you're healed from Christianity because of everything that we've learned and we've gotten fresh revelation of who God is. You're still saying, I don't want to bring it with us. Why would you bring something with you that you let go a long time ago?
Sure. Yeah.
It just means you haven't let it go.
Yeah.
If there's any kind of like about Christianity, that just means that you're still in it.
Yeah.
And if you were to just tell the truth about the situation is, look, I followed people more than Jesus, so I got hurt.
Yeah.
Take a second, just take responsibility for that.
Sure.
Don't put it on Christianity. Oh, I don't want to teach her this. You will teach her the Christianity that you are living.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Practicing.
That's it.
Yeah, truly practicing.
So we don't have to bring that Christianity because we don't live that Christianity anymore. She doesn't have to see people struggling with whether or not God loves them or not. We know God loves us.
Right.
We understand that, it's no longer what we do that makes him happy with us. It's who we are.
Yeah. And therefore I can go do
It took me like 12 years of being scared that Jesus was going to show up on stage because of what I did the night before. I had this utter fear that God was going to put my sin on the freaking LED screen because I accidentally, made out with this chick the night before and now I feel horrible about it and now I'm beating myself up and I have to get on stage and be a minister though and people are going to find out that I'm not perfect and God hates me. Like all that dumb crap. Like I started realizing, man, all these little rules that are in this Bible, this wasn't so that God could love us more. It's so that we wouldn't eternally keep up, ruining our own life because we don't understand that The consequences of our sin is death to us. God's not going to die. He's not up there like waning between his love towards us. It's like, hey, man, probably don't have sex before you get married. Why? Not because I'm going to be mad at you, but because there's a lot of bad stuff that can happen to you if you have sex before you get married.
And I love you too much.
It's like, but it goes beyond, it's just beyond that.
Yeah.
It's like there are real world consequences for everything
Tangible,
that we do.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm saying, don't do it.
There are only two ways to be as a human being: walk in the flesh or walk in the spirit. And I think as Christians, we don't say it out loud, but we think, well, there's somewhere in between. You know, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm maybe fleshly, but I have good intentions or something like that. But it's like, but when you walk in the spirit, you don't do the works of the flesh. And it's like, we talk about this a lot. It comes from being loved by God, not doing love for God, not trying to earn his favor, not looking at all these things like God's made the list so that you'll be approved by him.
Perform.
Right? It truly is like, these things hurt you.
Yeah.
These things are bad for you. And here's what I find funny. Before the fall, before sin, the entire world was what it was supposed to be. Man was what he was supposed to be. Like, I don't think we grasp just how different everything became after that fact, but we think this is how it's supposed to be.
Right.
And so like somehow it's always the lie too. God's withholding something. God's not giving me something, pleasure, whatever. Like from the beginning, that was the lie. God just doesn't want you to be like me, him. He knows in the day you eat of that, you'll be like him. And it's like, no, that wasn't it. You will be separated from him. You actually will live in death. And like, here we are going, oh, but I think this thing will give me more joy. This will give me more pleasure. This will satisfy me finally. And it really comes down to that. Like, as a Christian, the only way that you can do anything to please God is by resting in what he has done already.
And here's the weird thing.
I love that, dude.
Here's the weird thing. When you just said it, separated from God.
Yeah.
Every time I heard that in church, there was always, I don't know if it wasn't literal. Sometimes it was literal, but there was always this overwhelming connotation that separation from God was because you were bad and he is good.
Yeah.
It was always just that. It was always layered with that idea of that he's not going to be happy with you. Sin separates you from God. And that was the hard part, because it was always this feeling of like, why am I being judged so harshly on something that I didn't create in myself? I didn't want to come out a certain way. I don't want to, come out and say. That's why I understand Paul when Paul says, there's a war going on in my members. What
I want to do,
one of which like it's my spirit is like what I want to do and what I don't want to do, and one is crying out, Abba, Father, and the other one is his flesh that I live in. And that dialogue that he had with himself was so powerful for me, because he was able to dissect himself and say, this flesh, this body that I live in, that's not me.
Yeah.
No matter how much the enemy or my own self tries to make me convince me that this is who I am, this worldly body that I'm in, it's not me. I'm just renting this. I'm here for a moment. The spirit in me that's crying out, Abba, Father, that's me. And all I'm doing in this world is just trying to plug holes from sin that this body is prone to having.
Sure.
But the identity of me is this spirit over here that has to contend with this flesh.
Yeah, big time.
But the flesh is not me.
Yeah.
It's just like the house that we live in is not us.
Yeah.
We have to fix the house.
Right.
The house fails us. It leaks.
Yeah.
It breaks. It does all these things. We're grateful for the house because it keeps us safe.
Yeah.
But we understand we are not this house, and at some point this house will go away. But who we are in the house, that is who we are. So when you can separate the two and no longer live under this fog of like, I'm this horrible person, and realize that I have the capability, this body has the capability of leading me down really dark paths.
Yeah.
But it will never be who I am.
Yes.
This body.
Yep.
It'll look like who I am because what I will be doing is giving it dominion over me. So now all you see are my horrible works. So you won't even be able to separate it because I have given into said thing. And now all I do is act out in bad ways. So then we think, oh, that's just a bad person. And to me, the bad person is just somebody who said yes to the flesh one too many times and now just doesn't have enough fight in his spirit to like win that battle.
Yeah.
It's in them. They could,
Yeah.
but they just kind of given it up.
Yeah.
Body, do your thing. So, but it will never be who they are. It just will never be.
Well, that's why it's never satisfying.
Yeah.
They just keep chasing more pleasure.
And I think that will free a lot of dudes, man. It freed me. Now I don't walk around in that cloud. It'll try to get me every once in a while.
Sure.
Like if I feel I haven't done enough.
Yeah. I think
Or
that's the one for
yeah.
men. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
Gotta do more.
good enough. I'm not done enough. Yeah. I think that's
And you'll
the
try to
attack.
search for outer reasons for why.
100%. Yeah.
But this
we all do
whole
it.
I am where I need to be, that's powerful.
Yeah, and the question is the what if, right? So it's like it spins you into the idea of like what if this is exactly how it was supposed to be? Because you come into a room with other men and you sit there, and if you're honest and you think about your story, you go, I don't feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I got debt, or I got this, or I got that, or I got this relationship that's still funky with my parents, or the thing and the kids and money, and it's like we always are sort of measuring ourselves. And what I love, again, I'll say it again, like what I love about Jesus is like when I spend time with Jesus, when I commune with the Spirit of God, I feel so confident that of how he sees me. Like he's not up there kind of like guessing at who I am, like, let me parcel through the chaos of Pedro. It's like, he's like, no, like I see you, son, you're mine.
Yeah.
And he's just confident and he loves me, and he's not measuring me based on all these things. Now, can he help me get out of debt and work on that relationship and forgive that person? Yes, absolutely. But he's not waiting on me to do those things to be like, okay, now you have your identity.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I give you identity in the midst. It's literally the verse. Like, while we were still yet sinners, Christ died. Like, I bought your identity before you even knew to want for it.
Yep.
And I've been waiting to give it to you. I've been waiting for you to know you. And because to know yourself is to know the Father. And
Greatest
that's like,
revelation when I got out of group one.
it's freedom.
That was the greatest revelation. I remember in my prayer time, he was like, there will never be anything greater than just being my son.
Yeah.
Like there is no position higher.
Yeah.
And once I
100%.
knew that, I was like, oh, well, I don't have to be CEO of nothing.
Yeah.
And that becomes the journey, I think, for us as men. Like you said, I have moments like today, I had a moment where I was like, dang it, I'm going back into the old thing. Like that's the old thing. That's not the new record. Like play to the new tune, man. Like dance to the new tune. But it's a gift because every time I see that now, it's not apathy. It's not hiding. It's not pretension. It's an opportunity to remember how much I'm loved by my Father.
Yeah.
That he's like, even while you were reckless, even when you are reckless, falling apart in sin, choosing pleasure over contentment and peace with me and relationship, even there, like, yeah, I'm there.
Yeah.
I love you. You're
And
my
you
boy.
got to give yourself the grace because
Yeah.
we're so entrenched in world-like things.
Totally. It's
Like
everywhere.
we all have to work. We have to pay bills.
We got
We have to
jobs.
take care of like material things.
Yeah.
So it's really impossible to not contend with that thing all
Totally.
the time. It's just impossible because there's always something pulling on you.
Yeah.
And none of us come from,
Yeah.
grandparent billionaires to where it's
Right.
like, but even that comes with its own set of
I was
problems.
gonna say
It's just not,
It's different.
it's not these kind of problems.
Yeah.
So it's
Life is a
contending.
gym.
Yeah. It's
Life is a
contending
gym.
all the time is what it is. But those who can find that sweet balance of contentment,
Yeah.
I'm grateful that God gave me a taste of what it's like to have a lot. Because I was able to get a lot. And on the other side of it, quickly realize none of this is like happy.
Yeah.
It's almost quite depressing. I see why rich people can off themselves. Because if you can do and get anything and that doesn't bring happiness,
Yeah.
then you are at the point of despair
100%.
because you can't add anything to your life
That's right.
that's going to make it happen.
There's no supplement.
There's nothing.
There's no purse. There's
Like
no
I remember
car.
I went through a small, I wouldn't call it depression, but it was a questioning stage after group one because I felt like I didn't have any more purpose. Like that was my ministry. And I had this upkeep period of like probably 6 months where I was still buying clothes like I was going to wear them on stage, and acting out as if I'm still this musician. And I had to look at myself and I was just like, That's one of my favorite lines. I said in this one song, I said, and it's not a bar for anyone except for me, where I said, I have $1,000 shoes on with nowhere to go. And it was like a double entendre because you go through your feet. Like where you walk is where you go.
Yeah.
And I had the most expensive shoes, but I had nowhere to walk. I was just at home, and I would wear an outfit that cost $20,000 to drive nowhere, to go nowhere, to go to the Grove, watch a movie and go home.
I remember those days.
Why am I dressed like this? Why? What? But I put on, and nobody cared.
Yeah.
Nobody looked at me and said, there goes Manwell from Group 1 Crew. Look at his outfit.
Yeah.
I bought this watch as a celebration because this is what you do. You buy a gold presidential. I even said, there's another line where I talk about, I bought this watch and nobody cared.
Yeah.
Nobody stopped me.
Didn't make your life any
Hey,
better.
bro, that's a nice watch. I bet you're happy. No one said that.
Yeah.
But it almost was like, what a joke.
Yeah.
What a joke. This is all a joke. And I did something that day. I literally went home and I started selling off all my clothes. I sold like half of my closet.
Wow.
Because I was like, this is all stupid.
Yeah.
I'm not who I was. I'm a new person. I don't need any of this stuff. None of these cars will make me happy.
Yeah.
Everyone will always have more.
Yeah.
I remember when I bought my first 911 and I drove down the hill from my nice house. I was feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm leaving this gorgeous house with a gorgeous view and this $160,000 car. I'm feeling like I made it. Then a freaking 18-year-old pulls up in a Rolls Royce right next to me. And it was probably his dad's car, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. He had access.
I looked over to him and I was like, bruh, this 18-year-old is in a bigger pond than I am.
Yeah.
And I just shrunk down in my seat and I was like, there will always be more.
Yeah.
There will always be more. If you want to play this game,
Yeah.
there's always going to be more.
Yeah.
And you're going to find this utter despair.
Yeah.
So it's just none of it's worth it. So now I don't ever think if I get this, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Or if I
Totally.
make this, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
I think in plain terms, what does my life cost? Okay, so there's a number. If I want to live off of 5% in the bank, I need to have this much to cover this nut. That's practical.
Yep.
That'll be wealthy. If I could get my nut down to this much, then I'll only need this much.
Yeah.
Everyone else in the world will not think that I'm wealthy, but I'm able to pay my lifestyle
Yeah.
without working. That's wealth. It's just called practical. I don't have to dream up no craziness. And nothing that I ever buy is going to make me happy. I'll enjoy it. I'll get joy out of it,
Yeah.
but I won't be happy. Happiness right now is that I'm healthy. My little daughter is freaking so dope. I'm the biggest fan of her. My wife is amazing. We're 15 years. You guys are 20 years, you said?
20, yeah.
We're 15 years in. It doesn't even feel like it. That's how you know you haven't grinded the gears in marriage. That you're 15 years in and it's like, bruh, I've just been in fifth gear this whole time.
Just
There's been no downshifting. I've just been cruising.
Windows down.
It's like I don't even feel it.
It's good.
So,
It's beautiful.
yeah, man.
Bro, thank you for sharing your story, sharing your life, for being you. I love that. You know, we've had a lot of guests on, and I think for some of us, including me sometimes, like getting on camera and lights and the thing and the mic, like you can be like, who do I need to be? And I think you remind me, and I think you remind the world to be like, just be you, be where you're at, be right there. And I'm thankful for the reminder today to like be authentically me and be comfortable in my skin. And I think you live that out. So I appreciate that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Thanks
dude.
for having me.
Really glad to have you here.
Yeah, bro.